The president said this is a big deal. You have said that this is a really big deal as far as the implication on some of these injunctions around the country.
It's monumental, Brett. This 6-3 ruling restores American democracy. So President Trump, over the last 5 months, had more nationwide injunctions issued against him than were issued in the 100 years of the 20th century. Most of these nationwide injunctions have come from a small handful of very hard left district court judges in just 4 or 5 cities like Los Angeles, Boston, San Francisco, Chicago. No one in America consented to be ruled by a district court judge in Chicago or Manhattan or Los Angeles or San Francisco. They elected one American president to run the executive branch. Today, the Supreme Court has said President Trump is the one in charge of the executive branch. The Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security. That is how our democracy works. Every 4 years, we go to the polls and we elect a president. We do not elect a Marxist judge in a far-left city to rule over us. And that's what the Supreme Court said today, Brett.
The Supreme Court has shot down the nationwide injunctions against Donald Trump, and this, of course, opens the door for all of his executive orders, including those on reciprocal tariffs, mass deportations, and birthright citizenship. So what we see today, of course, is starting off with Scott Jennings taking a huge victory lap over Donald Trump's mega wins. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
The nationwide injunction is officially dead, and the court taking an opportunity here to do something that a lot of conservatives perhaps have wanted for a while, but as we've discussed plenty of times, the nationwide injunction has been sort of the bane of the existence of Democrat and Republican presidents. It's just that now this court has actually done it.
Yeah, they finally done something about it. Friday was a great day for Donald Trump. The market ended at all-time highs. He's breaking peace agreements in the Oval Office on Friday afternoon, and then the court really clears the way for him to enact the agenda on which he ran. I was trying to sort out my feelings on this matter, and I came up with a quote from a very smart lawyer, and I just want to quote it because I think she was right when she said it. It just can't be right that one district judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks. Justice Elena Kagan in 2022 said that, of course, when we had a Democratic president. Now, she voted against the decision on Friday. Just goes to show you that some of these folks really are hacks. But as you correctly said, this has been the bane of existence of presidents, and I'm glad they went ahead and fixed it, because it's not right that one of these individual district court judges can act like a king or a monarch and stop the elected president from acting.
And he knows that the lower courts cannot carte blanche stop him, which hugely increases the power of the executive.
Yeah, look, this is a great week for him, not just because of this ruling, but earlier in the week, the Supreme Court handed him the ruling on being able to deport illegal immigrants to third-party countries, essentially. So he's on a little bit of a winning streak in the courts right now. And you know what a lot of Republicans are saying is, nope, we're not tired of winning yet. This happened. The stock market's at a record high. He brokered the ceasefire in the 12-day war. Peace broke out between Rwanda and the Congo. I mean, gas prices are at a 4-year low for the summer. I mean, win after win after win. And this particular one is the most important because these individual judges had been, I think, unfairly stopping the president from governing. He won the election. They did. We don't have 600 presidents. We have one president. And now he's going to be able to actually govern. And so you could make an argument that this week or the last 2 weeks, the best week or 2 weeks of his entire presidency.
Absolutely. Donald Trump's agenda is now barreling forward, and we are not tired of winning just yet, because what this Supreme Court decision basically says is that some random local judge can't get in the way of Donald Trump's presidency. They don't have more power than someone who's been duly elected. Now, of course, does this mean all nationwide injunctions are gone forever? Of course not. But what it does mean is that because one person brings a lawsuit, they can't stop Donald Trump from deporting every single illegal immigrant in the country, okay? That's all that's being said here. And as much as that makes sense to you and me, of course, the leftist mainstream media is melting down, as we're going to see over here from MSNBC.
We are citizens because of our birth. And once the government takes that away, once it introduces this wild, chaotic new system where it depends on your parents and you get punished if your parents didn't have the right papers, then everyone's citizenship is thrown into disarray. And advocates need to present that very clearly to the Supreme Court because, frankly, this conservative majority is very selective in its empathy. If it's only thinking about undocumented immigrants of color, then it might not look so hard at the 14th Amendment and it might say, I don't really see a problem. But this is going to destabilize the fundamental right of citizenship for everybody. It is going to create massive downstream consequences in a really horrible and unworkable way. And so I hope that in this next round of litigation, the Supreme Court doesn't try to duck this merits question and takes a long, hard look at what will happen if Trump tries to implement this order, because it's chaos all the way down.
Michael, I'm sorry. I can't believe that we are asking the question, is the 14th Amendment to the Constitution constitutional? That is what, it is crazy. And I am sorry, but people need to call, this is crazy. They're asking us not to believe our own eyes and our own ears. They're asking us to go against everything that we know to be true. This is insane.
Well, but this is the landscape we find ourselves on now. I mean, the reality is they have been very effective, Trump and his minions inside the government have been very effective at setting the stair steps to the various narratives that they want to get accomplished.
So here we have Symone Sanders basically freaking out that she's not getting her way, okay, that we don't understand what the 14th Amendment was really about. Talking about the slaves in this country who were freed, they can now be counted as citizens. That's what the 14th Amendment was for, okay? Not to allow people to sneak into this country, have children, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're citizens, all right? Because under that scenario, do you realize what could happen? China has 1.4 billion people. They could easily send 200 million people into this country and take it over, either through military means or through political means, right? To see how easy that would be? Entire countries, which are basically the size of our states, could then move into this country. But of course, that's the leftist utopia, right? No borders whatsoever, no checks whatsoever. Allow anyone in with no caps upon it. And what happens then? We lose the country. And I'm not talking about for white people or for Hispanic heritage people or for black heritage people. I'm talking about for Americans. The culture is gone. The country is gone. But of course, you can't explain that to these crazy lefties. However, some people are getting the message. Donald Trump's win is here, and it's here to stay.
President Trump is having a moment. I'm Michael Smerconish in New York City. The first 5 months of Trump 2.0, they're in the books. I'm not shy about voicing my disagreement here with President Trump. We're doing so on radio. Often, whether it's trade, border control, Iran, I find myself agreeing with the goal, but not the approach. But viewed objectively, I have to say that Donald Trump has just had the best week or best 10 days of his second term. I'm still not sure bombing Iran was warranted, but the mission was carried out with stealth and with precision. There were no American casualties, and while Congress is divided after receiving briefings on the extent of the damage, I'm sure that we've derailed Iran's nuclear program at least temporarily. And there's some valuable deterrent effect for America's adversaries who witnessed last week's exercise. Then, last Tuesday, President Trump left the White House en route to Europe. At the time, there was a question as to whether Israel and Iran would honor a ceasefire. That caused the president to offer the most unfiltered, non-controversial, direct words that I can recall anybody ever saying about the Middle East. Cut to The Hague, where he arrived for NATO meetings and was able to wrangle an agreement from our allies to more than double their defense spending target from 2% of gross domestic product to 5% by 2035. Back at home, Trump claimed that he's reached a trade deal with China and soon expects the same with India. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Bloomberg that the deal was signed earlier this week. China's Commerce Ministry said Friday the two sides had further confirmed the details of the framework. Of course, Trump's initial imposition of tariffs wreaked havoc on American markets back in the spring. But now the markets have rebounded and grown. The S&P 500, NASDAQ hit record highs just yesterday. And it's not just the stock market. Inflation, the great economic fear of recent times, seems to be tamed. The rate is now reported at 2.4%, down from a high of 7% just 4 years ago. Meanwhile, blue-collar workers have seen real wage growth of 1.7% in Trump's first 5 months. This is the largest such increase in nearly 3 generations. Notwithstanding its impact on our national debt, there's also hope among some that Trump's big, beautiful bill will give further financial relief to blue-collar workers, as well as create incentives to build more factories in the U.S. Some already see this happening. For instance, General Electric has just announced that it'll invest almost $500 million in moving production of washing machines from China to Kentucky. And then there's the border. Crossings have slowed to a trickle. According to CBP's May update, Southwest border encounters have fallen to about 282 a day, a drop of 93% from last year and the lowest since the early 1960s. Perhaps the loudest cheering for those border numbers is coming from America's Latino community, which might initially sound counterintuitive. On Thursday, Pew Research released an enormous data analysis of the 2024 election, which contained several surprises. High on that list, President Trump won a bigger percentage of the Latino vote than previously believed.
So Michael Smerconish throwing in the towel, admitting that, yes, Donald Trump is in fact on a roll. He's having his best week since the start of his presidency, and everything seems to be falling in line. And we're talking about real successes here, right? Not just peace deals, although that's happening. Not just, of course, getting our allies to contribute more to their own safety, which, of course, is happening. But we're talking about wage growth for American workers. Real wage growth, as was pointed out, right? The first time this has happened in years, okay? But, of course, the left is always surprised when things tend to go well for Donald Trump. They're doom and gloom about tariffs, about jobs, about manufacturing, about all of these different things that Trump says he can improve. And then he actually improves them, and they're like, holy crap, how did that happen? At some point, you have to consider the fact that maybe Donald Trump knows what he's doing, and then please give him some leeway to accomplish his goals, all right? Because we're having some pretty awesome results. Peace brokered around the world, wars being stopped, and of course, an America becoming stronger. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description, where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.